of the third 제3회 스마트시티 국제심포지엄 개회식의 사회를 맡은 유세진입니다. 여러분과 함께하게 되어 매우 기쁩니다.
This year's Smart City International Symposium
이번
will be held
스마트시티
online due
국제심포지엄은
to the COVID-19
코로나19 상황으로
situation,
인해
with
온라인으로
overseas
행사가
speakers
진행되어
online and domestic speakers
국내
attending in real
연사분들만
time
현장에
on-site.
참여하신 가운데 해외 연사분들은
Following last
온라인으로
year,
모시고 진행할
The third
예정입니다.
Smart City
작년에
International
이어
Symposium will
세계
also
유수의
host
스마트시티
world-renowned smart
전문가를
city
모시고
experts
진행되는
to share
제3회
policies and
스마트시티
information by topics
국제심포지엄은
on global smart cities,
스마트시티
with special
레질리언스라는
reference
부제를
to
설정하여
resilience in smart
세계
cities.
스마트시티에 대한 주요 정책과
This
정보를
symposium
공유하고자
will be held
기획되었습니다.
as a joint seminar between
이번
Korea and
심포지엄은
England
특별히
with the
영국
support of
대사관의
the
후원을
British
통해
Embassy,
한영 공동
and it is
세미나로
expected
진행될
to be a meaningful
예정이며
time to further
스마트시티에 대한
strengthen the
양국의
foundation
다양한
for
노하우와
mutual
경험을
cooperation in the
공유하면서
future
앞으로
by sharing
상호협력
various
기반을
know-how
더욱
and
다져나갈 수 있는
experiences on
뜻깊은
smart
시간이
cities.
될 것으로 믿습니다.
Today's opening ceremony
오늘
will begin
개회식은
with an opening remark by
국토교통과학기술진흥원
Bong Soo-son,
손봉수
President
원장님의
of Korea
개회사로
Agency for
시작하겠습니다.
Infrastructure Technology Advancement. Let's watch this video.
영상으로 만나보시겠습니다.
The world has been heavily hit by a newly discovered coronavirus, and it continues to disrupt our daily lives. However, I believe humanity will find a way to overcome this big challenge as we always have. I wish everyone here with us today is safe and healthy. 반갑습니다. 저는 국토교통과학기술진흥원 손봉수 원장입니다. 오늘부터 이틀간 온라인으로 개최될 스마트시티 국제심포지엄에 참석해 주신 발제자와 토론자 그리고 모든 온라인 참석자 여러분 진심으로 환영합니다. 오늘 심포지엄 개최에 큰 도움을 주신 주한 영국 대사관과 영국 국제통상부 그리고 인천광역시와 인천경제자유구역청 관계자 여러분 진심으로 감사드립니다. 그리고 함께해 주신 모든 분들께 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 올해 심포지엄은 전 세계 신종 코로나 팬데믹 상황으로 인해 여러분들과 직접 만나 뵙지 못합니다. 그러나 4차 산업혁명 시대의 ICT 기술을 통해 한국과 영국의 스마트시티 정책과 전략을 세계 각지에 계신 분들과 실시간으로 교류하는 기회가 될 것입니다. 특히 이번 심포지엄에서는 신종 코로나 이후를 대비하여 새로운 일상, 새로운 기준을 논의하기 위한 포스트 코로나 세션이 진행됩니다. 국토교통과학기술진흥원은 지난 3월 24시간 소요되던 신종 코로나 역학조사를 10분 이내로 단축하는 코로나19 역학조사 지원 시스템을 개발하였으며 현재 대한민국 방역 시스템에 널리 활용되고 있습니다. 그리고 이 시스템의 기반이 된 데이터 허브는 바로 스마트시티의 핵심 기술입니다. 데이터 허브 플랫폼은 대규모 도시 데이터를 신속하고 정확하게 분석하는 도구로 향후 스마트시티 구현에 필수적으로 활용될 것입니다. 이번 심포지엄에서도 데이터 기반 스마트시티를 논의하기 위한 스마트시티 데이터 세션이 마련되어 있으니 많은 관심을 부탁드립니다. 여러분, 올해 심포지엄의 주제는 스마트시티 레질리언스입니다. 포스트 코로나 시대에 전 인류가 겪고 있는 어려움을 가장 효과적으로 극복하고 회복할 수 있는 대안을 우리는 스마트시티에서 찾을 수 있을 것으로 기대합니다. 이번 심포지엄이 전 세계 레질리언스를 위한 스마트시티의 다양한 정책과 경험이 공유되고 비전을 도출하는 자리가 되기를 희망합니다. 아울러 멀리 영국에서 특별 강연을 해주시는 영국 브리스톨 마빈 리스 시장님과 오늘 토크콘서트에서 토론을 해주시는 이영근 전 인천경제자유구역 청장님 그리고 국가 스마트시티 특별위원회 김갑승 위원장님 그리고 오늘 토론의 자장을 수고해 주실 국토교통과학기술진흥원의 이상훈 부원장님에게도 감사의 말씀을 전합니다. 마지막으로 이번 심포지엄을 준비해 주신 관계자분들에게 다시 한번 감사드리며 현재 실시간으로 참여해 주시는 모든 분들의 건강과 행운을 기원합니다. 감사합니다.
Yes, it was the opening remark of President Bong
네,
Soo-son.
손봉수 원장님의 개회사였습니다.
welcome speech from Incheon Mayor
이제
Namcheon Park.
박남춘 인천시장님의 환영
제3회 스마트시티 국제심포지엄 참석을 위해 인천을 찾아주신 국내외 기빈 여러분, 그리고 유튜브 영상으로 함께 계신 여러분 반갑습니다. 인천광역시장 박남춘입니다. 여러분께서는 포노사피엔스라는 단어를 들어보셨습니까? 스마트폰을 내 몸의 일부처럼 자유자재로 사용하는 현대인을 뜻한다고 합니다. 스마트폰 알람 소리에 일어나 스마트폰으로 뉴스를 접하고 스마트폰 SNS 앱으로 사람들과 소통하고 교감하는 사람들, 업무와 취미, 의식주를 포함한 거의 모든 일상에서 스마트폰을 활용하는 스마트한 사람들을 포노사피엔스라고 합니다. 저는 이런 포노사피엔스들이 더 편리하게 살아갈 수 있는 공간이 진정한 의미의 스마트시티라고 생각합니다. 인천시는 진정한 스마트시티로 도약하기 위해 시정부의 역량을 집중하고 있습니다. 도시의 수많은 공공데이터를 담은 GIS를 스마트폰으로 한눈에 볼 수 있는 시스템을 구축했습니다. 앱 터치 한 번으로 교통이 불편한 지역에 버스와 전동 킥보드를 호출할 수 있는 멀티모달 서비스, i모드 서비스도 준비 중에 있습니다. 안전하고 신속한 공공 배달 앱 서비스도 일부 지역에서 점차 확대해 나갈 예정입니다. 이 밖에도 하이브리드 드론을 활용한 공공정보 수집, 세계적인 바이오 기업들과 함께 바이오 헬스밸리 구축, ICT 혁신이 이루어질 스타트업 파크 품 유치, 온라인 화상회의 활성화 등에도 힘쓰고 있습니다. 인천시는 이번 심포지움에서 다뤄질 4가지 세션, 포스트 코로나, 디지털 헬스케어, 스마트 시티 데이터, 스마트 모빌리티 분야에 대한 혁신을 이미 진행하고 있다고 말씀드립니다. 이러한 다양한 정책들을 이번 행사에서 공유하면서 새로운 아이디어와 비전도 적극적으로 수용하고 배우겠습니다. 코로나 이후 펼쳐질 미래사회의 청사진이 이번 스마트시티 심포지엄에서 그려지길 기대합니다. 감사합니다.
Yes, it was the welcome speech from Mayor Namcheon
박남춘
Park.
시장님 환영사였습니다.
Next, we will watch a video
다음으로는
of a congratulatory
영상을
remarks
통해
by Ambassador Simon
주한
Smith
영국
from
대사관
the
사이먼
British
스미스
Embassy in Seoul.
대사님의 축사를
Let's watch this video.
만나보겠습니다. 영상으로 만나보겠습니다.
Hello, I'm Simon Smith, the British Ambassador to South Korea. I'm delighted to welcome you all to the 3rd Smart City International Symposium, which we're very happy to be co-hosting this year. Over the next couple of days, we'll be examining the theme of resilience in smart cities and looking at some of the trends which will impact on and hopefully improve the quality of our lives in the years ahead. We'll hear from 11 of the UK's top smart city experts from across government and the private sector, who will offer their insight into areas including digital healthcare, smart city data, smart mobility, and how technology can help guide us into the post-coronavirus era. And this discussion could not be more important or more timely. By 2040, 65% of the world's population will be living in cities. 1.3 million people move into cities every day. Over 80% of global GDP is generated in cities. So how to make our cities smarter and more energy efficient is a global challenge. But it's also a huge opportunity, with the international smart city market expected to grow to over $2 trillion by 2025. And I'm happy to be able to say that the UK is leading the way in smart city technology, with a host of innovative companies offering cutting-edge solutions for cities and people. This is not surprising. In the UK, we've been doing this longer than anywhere else. Manchester was the world's first industrial city, and we've been solving the challenges of city living ever since. This experience means that today the UK is the world leader in integrating the entire city system, focusing on data and professional analysis, as well as transportation, energy and security networks. This is true in the UK, where towns and cities are increasingly looking to develop local strategies, blending economic, transport, health, housing, culture and other services into policies that place smart infrastructure and services at their core. It's also true outside of the UK, where UK engineering and architecture companies have already used their urban planning and design expertise to create smart cities around the world. This presents a significant opportunity, not only for the UK, but also for South Korea. Between 2014 and 2019, South Korean investment into Europe's commercial property market rose nearly sixfold to almost £6.65 billion, with more than 40% going into the UK commercial property market. The rapid growth of smart cities in the UK over the coming years will create many more opportunities for Korean investors. To put it simply, Korea is one of the world's most connected societies, while the UK is a world leader in the development and implementation of smart cities. As long-standing allies, we're perfectly placed to take our partnership to new heights in this revolutionary sector. We very much look forward to sharing our experience with you and to showcasing the best technology has to offer us as we work together to meet the challenges of the future. It's sure to be a fascinating journey, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Yes, it was the congratulatory remark from Ambassador Simon Smith. Next, there will be a congratulatory remark from Incheon Metropolitan Council, Eun-ho Shin. Let's watch this video.
인천 송도 국제도시에서 개최되는 제3회 국제심포지엄에 함께해 주시는 내빈 여러분과 토론자 여러분 환영합니다. 또한 온라인을 통해 함께해 주시는 시민 여러분 반갑습니다. 인천광역시의회 의장 신은호입니다. 국제심포지엄 축사에 앞서 코로나로 인해 고통받고 계시는 모든 분들께 진심으로 위로의 마음을 전합니다. 또한 이 시간에도 인류의 건강과 안전을 위해 헌신하고 계시는 한국과 영국의 의료진과 방역 관계자분들께 깊은 존경과 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 스마트시티 레질리언스를 주제로 양국의 스마트시티 추진 전략과 다양한 프로젝트 사례를 공유할 예정이라고 알고 있습니다. 현재 선진국의 수많은 대도시의 인구 집중으로 과밀화 문제를 가지고 있습니다. 우리 인천도 같은 문제를 안고 있습니다. 이러한 문제를 해결할 대안이 스마트시티라고 생각합니다. 지금 세계는 코로나 바이러스로 큰 위기에 직면해 있습니다. 상대적으로 대한민국은 K-방역으로 또 다른 한류를 만들어냈습니다. 이번 심포지엄에서도 포스트 코로나 세션이 있는 것으로 알고 있는데 이번 심포지엄을 통해 포스트 코로나 시대에 대비해 도시 문제를 효과적으로 해결할 수 있는 대안을 찾길 바랍니다. 20세기를 대표하는 영국 최고의 지성이자 역사학자 아놀드 토인비 박사는 인류 역사는 도전과 응전이라고 일갈했습니다. 제3회 국제 심포지엄을 통해 건설적인 논의가 이루어져서 현재의 도전에 인류가 새로운 활로를 모셔가기를 바랍니다. 감사합니다.
Yes, it was the congratulatory remark from Eun-ho Shin. Next, there will be a special speech by Mayor Marvin Rees of Bristol City, England. We will listen to the presentation titled "Connecting Bristol: Our Smart City Approach." Let's watch his special speech.
연결성 확장을 위한 스마트시티 접근 방식 들어보시겠습니다.
안녕 하십니까. I'm Marvin Rees, the Mayor of Bristol, and I'm very pleased to be speaking to you today. We are the largest city in the southwest with a population of about 460,000 people. We sit in the larger West of England area that has a population of 1.1 million people. We are one of the 10 core cities, the 10 biggest cities outside of London in the UK. We are a diverse, vibrant city. We are international. We are internationally connected through our transport networks, but we're also internationally connected through our populations, cultures, and trade, with an incredible history of combining art, creativity, technology, and business. Our citizens come from over 180 countries of origin, and my father, coming from Jamaica, was one of those. We speak over 91 languages, and we have over 45 religions. Bristol and the West of England has a number of features that we're very proud of in addition to that. We are a productive part of the UK. We have the highest economic output per hour worked amongst the UK cities outside of London. We are innovative. We have more patent applications than any other major UK city. We are high tech. We are globally recognized for digital media, creativity, and silicon design. We are enterprising with the highest business startup and survival rates among the major UK cities. We are growing with the highest economic and population growth among the major UK cities. And we are connected with high broadband speeds. We are a 5G testbed. We are 1 hour and 20 minutes from London by train, and we're close to an international airport and an international seaport. And many amazing things in the city. We do not shy away from acknowledging our challenges, because with all the wealth, with all the drive and dynamism, we also are a city of inequalities, with 41 areas amongst the top 10% most deprived in England. We've developed in the city a unique approach to leadership, we believe, and we call it the One City approach. It's built around a One City plan that brought the city together to agree on what we all wanted to get done, not just local government, but the whole city. We set out a vision together to be a city of hope, aspiration, and inclusion, a sustainable city. But to achieve this, we have to make sure that the prosperity we generate is equally accessible and shared by people right across the city. And that is a priority right now, not just for Bristol, but for our nation and countries and cities right across this globe. How do we make sure that the economic growth we deliver, the economic recovery path that we go on post-COVID, is one that includes everyone? If we don't, there'll be major consequences we have to then contend with. In July 2016, I pulled together a meeting of city leaders from the public, private, voluntary, education sector. About 70 people turned up. In that room, we had a collective spend of around £6 billion. We employed between us 70,000 people. Now you think about that presence in a city of 460,000 people. And we agreed that if we all decided to focus our efforts on some shared priorities, there wouldn't be much that we couldn't get done for Bristol. And that approach has really underpinned what we've now called the Bristol One City approach, whereby we rally around a single plan that we've all written. We've aligned that plan to the UN Global Sustainable Goals, and we focus what we do. We can all do lots of other things in the hinterland, but we all agree on some overarching priorities that we're all going to contribute to for the city. This is our shared vision. This is our shared to-do list, and it's got some real momentum for us in city leadership and inclusive city leadership. And it's that kind of approach that has helped us gain a reputation, both for innovation and city leadership. We were a cash winner in the European iCapital City of Innovation Awards last year for that approach. but it's also invested in our ability to continue to be a leading city, a leading smart city, because we recognize that smart cities, smart technology are vital to us delivering on our ambitions. But also that framework, that plan, those shared priorities form another crucial role, because they become the framework for the challenges that innovators want to take on. So innovation doesn't happen in an abstract. It happens in line with a plan that we have collectively written as a city that looks forward to the kind of city we want to be in 2050. And with that framework, innovators can have a think about where they can come in, the opportunities they can identify, and how they can put tools in the hands of the major organizations and people in the city to be able to meet those challenges and deliver that vision. Since starting our smart city journey over a decade ago, our focus has always been on making best use of technology to build a better Bristol and to make sure we deliver services more effectively and to enable people to live life more independently, irrespective of services that the city offers. So people can live with that dignity, that independence, and ultimately that interdependence. We've had a focus on people, inclusivity, and collaboration. As I've said, this is at the core of our approach to city leadership. We've built our smart city approach around three principles: responsible innovation and technology for good. It has to have some values to it. It cannot be a values-free zone. We wanted a focus on city priorities through challenge-led innovation that actually addresses genuine city needs and genuine city opportunities. And we've wanted to nurture a citywide innovation ecosystem to really gather the full strength of Bristol. So Bristol is on a smart city journey. We've won many accolades, but we know we're on a journey just like many other cities. And we continue to realign as we respond to the challenges as identified through the One City approach, but also the new challenges as they arrive: funding crisis, economic pressures coming our way, COVID-19. We've learned a number of lessons. One is we need to start with why, with the challenges and the opportunities that are real. We need to be requirements-led, not technology-driven. Second, cities are social spaces, and our focus needs to be on people. We need to be citizen-centered. Technology should be the enabler that really unlocks our collective potential and connects people with people and people with opportunities. Thirdly, we need to consider the ethical dimensions of what we are doing. The issues affecting companies like Facebook also affect data-enabled smart cities. So while data is the new oil, as some people describe it, much of it is generated by citizens, and we need to think about how we use data appropriately to deliver better outcomes whilst protecting people's personal data and their privacy. And we also need to co-design and empower and support better social outcomes and inclusive growth. Particularly in the UK, the idea of increased technology brings with it a challenge around increased invasion into people's personal lives and the potential disempowerment of those people. We need to make sure that the data, the technology we introduce genuinely empowers individuals and families in communities. So we started nearly a decade ago with a vision to be a smart and sustainable city, and are proud to be ranked as a leading UK smart city, and we contend really for that top spot. So from leading tech incubation and creative digital sectors, a digital testbed to trial new ideas through to community-led smart home design. This slide you are looking at now shares some of our key initiatives over the last few years. We're delighted to say we've won national and international awards and recognition, from Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, declaring Bristol a global smart city leader, through to being a finalist in the 2019 World Smart City Awards and the 2019 European Capital of Innovation. This is translated into business success and investment. So for example, Graphcore, a Bristol startup chip company, last year was valued at £1 billion plus. We are a cluster. Bristol hosts the largest tech cluster by revenue outside London, and we're home to Set Squared, Europe's #1 tech incubator, second in the world. Bristol is able to think differently. We have a culture of innovation now that's grown up around this. Our different sectors work well with one another, supporting creativity and innovation. That creative tension, that access to that diversity of thought has been core to that. And our businesses, universities and our public sector come together around different themes through networking events and co-location. So for example, in the areas of collaborative research, high-tech startups at the Engine Shed, Meditech at the Bristol Robotics Lab, and Future Space, technology for supported living at home, and Open Bionics, now low-cost 3D printed prosthetic limbs. From a smart city perspective, we're showing that we can have a vision and turn that vision into reality. But we're also a global city, and we recognize the strengths of other places, such as Korea, particularly in the technology sector, and we need that collaboration between countries, cities, and sectors. So, for example, in the areas of digital health and well-being, especially in response to the pandemic, smart mobility and smart city data, and the value we've seen in collaborative research and development to achieve more together on a global scale. As a further example of some of our key initiatives, one of these is called Bristol is Open. We have our own infrastructure to support new generation technology, research and experimentation. Bristol is Open uses ducts and fibre owned by Bristol City Council to test Internet of Things applications. The public sector has invested in these, creating digital testbeds that support and lower the cost of innovation, supporting innovation. This underpins our ability to experiment with smart city technologies. The University of Bristol's 5G testbed links the West of England cities of Bristol and Bath to King's College, London, and the UK Digital Capital Catapult. It's part of a £200 million UK government programme to accelerate and promote 5G capabilities. Through Bristol is Open, we're exploring how we can use new technologies such as AI, analytics and 5G to keep people safe in the city and improve social and economic outcomes. So for example, improving waterside safety in the city, in-camera artificial intelligence for object identification and dwell detection to generate alerts linked to our Smart City Operations Centre, already saving lives. In short, if people fall into the harbour, we have artificial intelligence that will identify them and allow us to get rescue services out to save them from drowning. Insight Bristol, an interagency analytics hub to support our Troubled Families programme and support better outcomes for our children at risk through a range of tools and analysis that is then integrated with operational practice by our teams, using smart technology to support our families as some of the most vulnerable children in the city. Movement and spend data modelling in one of our city centre business improvement districts, again helping us take on that critical challenge of keeping our city centres alive in the face of huge economic challenge. So we're exploring new ways to innovate across the city to be more inclusive and participatory. Citizen engagement around real challenges is key to the development of our vision for Bristol being a smart city. It's citizens and their real lives that will throw up the new questions and new challenges that we have to grapple with and take on. With partners, we developed the Bristol approach to citizen sensing, where citizens co-design and develop solutions to their problems. For example, damp in the home was an issue identified by homeowners. So together we explored how they could use sensors to collect data that would help identify and solve the issue. The frog shown on the slide is a damp sensor, designed and built by local people. The programme trains unemployed people in the Internet of Things and digital manufacturing skills. These frogs lived in residents' homes for a week, and residents are now using the data gathered to put their case forward to council services and landlords to fix problems identified. Citizens control how their data is used, whilst also making the data available, accessible, and portable. We also have a key focus on open data. Open Data Bristol, which is our platform, enables access to that data and currently hosts over 210 data sets. The council and partners work together to make data available, unlock insight and develop new prototypes that will help deliver services for the people of Bristol in new and unexpected ways. We publish raw data to be transparent about the information we hold, which is incredibly important in a city like Bristol. And that encourages citizens and organisations to reuse data to help others do things they want to do or understand things. So, for example, in line with the One City priority around ending period poverty, local citizens worked together through a community hackathon to develop an app that showed a network of locations across the city where people can access free period products as well as donate them. Digital equity is important to us. We believe that digital inclusion, access, skills and connectivity is a foundation of a smart, well-connected, inclusive city. We cannot afford to carry forward digital exclusion in a smart city. Digital inclusion is about ensuring that everyone can benefit from, participate in and contribute to the social and economic life and benefits of digital technology in a smart city. And this leads me to my closing points, our next steps and challenges. So 2020 so far has been a challenging year, and I use classic British understatement as I make that statement. It's been a year of sobering reality and one that should usher in an era of considerable humility for humanity as a species. I started off saying that Bristol wanted to be a city of hope. That's something we have declared together. We talk about hope because it grapples with the grittiness of life. Hope grapples with the idea of suffering, perseverance and character as a pathway to finding hope. And therefore it's more real. It's more real to the realities of, it's more respectful to the realities of people's everyday life. So we want to be a city of hope, aspiration, inclusion and sustainability. And I reiterate, as I said at the beginning, this aspiration to be a city of hope is never more important than it is today, not only in Bristol but across the globe. We all have a role to play in delivering this through the collective recovery and renewal from COVID-19 and taking the opportunity to stop and reflect and to build back better. As we take the opportunity to build back our economic systems, our political systems, our social systems, we don't just want to go back to what we had before. We have to think about what were the strengths and the weaknesses of what were before and build those out of the new model that we put to our planet. We must focus our attention on those who are furthest away from our recovery to make sure it is truly inclusive, using the Global Sustainable Development Goals. I think that is a global language we all need to grab a hold of. And let's be clear, one of the challenges we face in Bristol is that the people who will pay the highest price, both for COVID and the economic consequences of COVID, are the poorest and the most vulnerable. In turn, they will be the people least well placed to benefit from the recovery programs and any economic upturn in the future. So the natural trend will be towards compounding inequalities. We need to be on the front foot of making sure that that is not what actually happens, and that we genuinely build an inclusive global future. And our cities are on the front line. National governments have their role. But I think it's really, we need to begin understanding the leadership role that cities will play, and smart cities in particular. And not just in cities working in isolation, cities working as part of global collectives, global collaborations, global networks. The COVID-19 lockdown has brought issues of inequality, in digital access, both in having access to devices as well as Wi-Fi, skills and infrastructure into sharp focus, with the internet providing a lifeline for individuals to access services, education, purchase essential supplies and stay connected with loved ones in support networks. Achieving digital equity is essential to Bristol meeting its city vision, for us being a city of hope, and I dare say cities all around the world will be facing that exact same challenge. So we're pivoting our Connecting Bristol approach to address this. Our One City Statement of Intent is our initial response as we work towards our recovery and renewal plan. I hope we'll be able to use our collective creativity and innovation to build back better. And I really look forward to working with you on that. Thank you for your time, and I very much look forward to hearing the outcomes from this event and our continuing collaboration.
It was a great speech by Mayor Marvin Rees, who spoke about the city vision and future
브리스톨의
strategy
선도적인
to develop
스마트시티로
Bristol into a
발전시키기
leading
위한 도시
smart city.
비전과 미래 전략에 대해
And now,
말씀해 주셨습니다.
here's the talk concert. Participants have
이제
already came up to the
마지막으로
stage.
토크 콘서트를
And
진행하겠습니다.
now, let's start the talk
참가자분들께서
concert.
이미 무대에 나와 계십니다. 시작하겠습니다.
The microphone is working? Okay.
네,
Hello. Good evening.
안녕하세요.
Good morning for UK.
좋은 저녁
I'm Sang
혹은
Lee,
좋은
Managing Director of
아침입니다.
KAIA,
저는
Korea Agency for
국토교통과학기술진흥원의
Infrastructure
부원장인
I've been in charge of
이상훈입니다.
moderating the talk concert.
제가
Highlight of
오늘
this
토크
today's program.
콘서트의 좌장을
The Smart City
맡았는데 오늘
International
프로그램의
Symposium
하이라이트라고
celebrated
생각합니다.
its third
이
year.
스마트시티 국제
I
심포지엄이
think the
어느덧
symposium has established
3회째를 맞이했습니다.
itself as a representative venue for
지금
sharing smart
명실상부한
city-related experiences
스마트시티
and leading
경험을
relevant
나누는 대표
discussions.
심포지엄으로 자리 잡았다고
This present
생각합니다.
third symposium is particularly meaningful
특히
because it is
이번
being held in
심포지엄은
cooperation with the
더
UK,
의미가
a
있습니다.
strongly
영국과
leading
공동
country
주최를 했기
in the field
때문입니다.
of smart city.
영국은
Let
스마트시티
me invite the
선도국가입니다.
experts who will be participating in
오늘
for
참여해
talking about the
주실
smart city.
전문가
First,
분들을
I'd like
소개하도록
to introduce
하겠습니다.
Dr. Kapsung
먼저
Kim, Professor of
김갑성
Department of Urban
연세대학교
Engineering,
도시공학과
He's also serving
교수님을
actually as
소개해드립니다.
the Chief Advisor
동시에
of Korean
4차
Smart City
산업혁명위원회
Special
산하
Committee under
스마트시티
the President of
특별위원장을 맡고
Hi,
계십니다.
my name is
Dr.
Kapsang Kim. I'm very glad to
안녕하세요.
be here.
오늘 오게 되어 매우 기쁩니다.
Next
김갑성입니다.
is Dr. Young-gun Lee, who served
다음은
as the Commissioner of the
이영근
Incheon Free Economic Zone
박사님입니다.
and
이전
is actually a
IFS
chair
청장님을
professor of State University
지내셨으며
of New York, Korea.
지금 뉴욕 주립대의 석좌 교수이십니다.
I'm Young Lee, now leading professor
안녕하십니까.
of
저는
State University
한국
of New
뉴욕
York, Korea,
주립대학교 석자
and the former
교수를
commissioner
맡고
of Incheon Free
있고
Economic Zone
전
Authority. Thank you.
IFEZ 청장을 지냈던
Lastly,
이영근입니다.
Mr. Stephen Hilton,
마지막으로 스티븐 힐튼 웨스트 오브 잉글랜드 스마트시티 수석 고문님께서 함께하고 계시고 또 브리스톨 시의회의 디렉터이시기도 했습니다. 지금 화상으로 함께하고 계신데요. 네, 저에게 짧게 인사 한마디 부탁드립니다. 모두 안녕하세요. 한국에 계신 분들 반갑습니다. 그리고 영국에서 참가하는 모든 분들 좋은 아침입니다. 이 자리에 스마트시티 심포지엄의 패널로 참석하게 되어 매우 영광입니다. 네, 힐튼 교수님 감사합니다. 이제 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 시작하기에 앞서서 이제 발표 순서를 말씀드리겠습니다. 먼저 김갑성 교수님으로 시작하고 그 다음에
and Dr. Young-gun Lee. Their discussion will be followed by Q&A session. Okay. I'd like you to talk one by one about smart city. Professor Kapsung Kim,
해주시길
Chief
부탁드립니다.
Advisor of Korea Smart City Special
김갑성
Committee.
교수님, 지금
I would like
스마트시티
you to introduce
특별위원장님이시죠?
the committee and
교수님께서 이
what
스마트시티
it is doing to the citizens who are watching
위원회가
YouTube live
무엇을
show
하는지
now.
좀 지금
I
시청하시는
was appointed
시청자들에게
as
소개
a chief
부탁드립니다.
advisor of the committee in
저는 스마트시티
2017
특별위원장으로 2017년에
November. So it takes over
자리를
3
맡게
years
되었습니다.
now.
이제
And
3년째 제가
why we
위원장
make
자리를
that
맡고
committee
있습니다.
is because the
특별위원회는
government want to make a new economic
현
growth
정부가
engine
경제
from the
성장
fourth industrial
동력으로
revolution technology.
삼고자
So why we
마련하였습니다.
want to make some
4차 산업혁명을
creation of jobs
위해서
and economic growth?
일자리를
There is new
창출하고
technology.
새로운
Mostly we
기술을
can use
도입하고자
the
한
post-industrial
그러한
revolution technology in
4차
the
산업혁명
space
기술을
industry or the defense industry. But
를
we think the
여러
many people
다른
live in the
분야에도
city.
활용하지만
Mostly
우리는
the
도시에 살고
over
있습니다.
50% of the people live in the city nowadays in the world
현재
wide,
도시에
and
살고
also in
있습니다.
Korea maybe
그리고
more
한국에는
90% of people live in the city. So if we
90%의
put in
인구가 도시에
put
살고 있다고
those
말씀드릴 수 있습니다.
technology into the city,
따라서 도시의
maybe there's
기술을
a new
적용하는
area
것이
of the
새로운
industry and business opportunity.
기업의
So
기회 또 비즈니스의 기회를 창출할 수 있는 방법이라고 생각합니다.
And then
따라서 우리는
for
도시를
3
생각할 때
months we made set up the roadmap for the
로드맵을
making smart
마련합니다.
city strategy in Korea. So
스마트시티
mostly
전략의
the
이
important one
로드맵을
is we
활용하여
designate 2 national pilot city. One is
시범
Seoul and
도시를
the other one is
먼저
Busan Eco-Delta
마련하였습니다.
City.
세종과
Why the
부산
reason
이
why we made
기회입니다.
the national pilot project because the most cities has very many people live already and there are lots of regulations, so we cannot get some consensus from the citizens very short time. So if there is nothing in the vacant areas, so there is no people living there, and we can make some new city. So that's why we make national pilot city. Also, this government wants to make the old city so-called urban regeneration project, urban regeneration New Deal project. So we focus on the 5 or 6 project in of the 100 designated sites as a smart city. So smart city technology can be applied in those cities. Also, we have 2 experiment for the data hub city. One is Daegu and the other one is Gyeonggi, Siheung areas. We collect some data and we make some new services. Also, last year we did some smart city challenge. So in Incheon was one of the model. We have some practice in mobility problems. So that's our committee doing nowadays.
Thank you very much for your introduction. Very brief but clear on the special committee of Smart City, as well as the activities with respect to national pilot project and then urban regeneration New Deal project, also a Smart City Challenge project. I'm convinced that government's interest in Smart City is great enough to form such a special committee. Now, I would be grateful if you could explain on what aspects Smart City are important.
So Korea has the experience of the ubiquitous city for 10 years. We started, I think, 2005. We made like a law, ubiquitous construction law. So it is not the first time to attempt this smart city in Korea. So nowadays we're changing the ubiquitous city to smart city. We think about the consumer-based and community-based, and there are many ministries to engage this smart city. So we want to have some integrated policy and some project, and to focus on the budget in one area or several areas. So that's why we made the committee and we wanted to do. So I think that in the smart city, the most important thing is the citizen. So what the citizens want in the city, that's the thing. And I said more than 50% of the people live in the city, and most developed countries, maybe the urbanization ratio is more than the 70 or 80. Even in Korea, maybe 90%. So, but still we have some problems in the city, like traffic congestion, air pollution, and climate. Also, some land price and housing price is very high. So, if we reduce the problems or resolve the problems with the ICT technology, then it could be helpful for people live in the city, and they can get some happier than before. So that's why we want to focus on the citizens, I think. That's the most important one. Also in Korea, in planning process or the operating and management stage, we excluded the citizens. Top-down method is the typical one. So in the smart city, we focus on the citizen participation, and business firms should giving some services. Replace the public services.
Thank you very much. People often forget that smart city has a long history.
Yeah.
Going back to ubiquitous city, which is the first version of smart city in Korea. Thank you very much for the point. And you mentioned also the decision-making procedure for smart city, which is very important factor, I think. And now, okay, lastly, could you tell us what directions you think smart city should take in the future, and what the core contents for smart cities to be considered?
Yeah, we have very many sectors, but I think the technology is not the only one. So more important thing is the citizen participation and happiness of them. So without any technology, we could do, and we can accomplish that kind of things without any technology. That could be the one of the smart city. So, and some criticism is like the smart city is very costly, so it's very expensive. But I don't think the expensive city is not the smart one. Without any cost increasing, we can achieve more efficient city, and also we should reduce the operating cost of the city. That is the aim of the smart city, I think. Also, we should do something in the city. Nowadays the operating and management is the public side is the take all charge of that. But in the smart city, I think the business firms, private companies should participate in very the large areas of that. So we can replace the public services by the private. So in the national pilot project, we invite the private companies, like private-public partnership. So I heard the LGCNS was chosen as a main part of the private company in Sejong project. Also, the next month we will choose another company. So it could be the new attempt to create some new city, I think. So we should make many technology and the services by the business firm. So government should support in some way. The mayor of Bristol said 5G communication network is very important. So that could be we need huge investment. So public side invest very huge amount of money in the infrastructure, like telecommunication and highway, something like that. And business firms, maybe they should provide some services. That's the roles of the public and private. Also the academia, they should making study and research on the new technology. Also the socio-economic type of studies is necessary to involve in this project, I think.
Thank you, Dr. Kapsong Kim. You mentioned a very crucial point in terms of sustainability of smart city, private-public partnership, which is very important, as well as a development of a business model for private companies. Okay, we have talked with Professor Kapsong Kim on the Smart City Special Committee, the importance of smart cities and the directions of development in the future. Now, I would like to talk with Mr. Stephen Hilton, who is participating online. Based on the case of Smart City project in west of England, I would like to invite you to talk. Mr. Stephen Hilton is a mayor's principal advisor to the west of England and director of City Global Futures. First issue I would like to ask you is the current policy of smart cities in west of England. Director Stephen Hilton.
So thank you for the question. I guess as we look around the world as a whole, there are perhaps for the first time several policy issues that bind us all together. Clearly the pandemic is something that all countries and all places are grappling with. But so is the climate and the climate emergency that we face. And equally around the world, we're starting to recognise that social inclusion and social justice is also key to creating successful places. So at the local level, in the west of England and the cities of Bristol and Bath, we have a range of policies that reflect those global challenges. Mayor Rees from Bristol spoke earlier about the One City Plan, which has brought together a wide range of partners within the city of Bristol to focus on identifying a number of priority areas that can be addressed together, with a strong focus on inclusion and making sure that the most vulnerable people in the city, those who've been most impacted upon by the pandemic, can also benefit from digital innovation and a digital economy that is so important to the future of our city and our region. At the West of England level, which is the wider area, we have a local industrial strategy which highlights the importance of inclusive and sustainable growth. It includes a number of mechanisms, including an emphasis on innovation and cross-sector innovation, so looking at how we bring together the creative industries and the high-tech industries in order to create a real test bed for innovation. So I think for the first time we find ourselves in a world where we all have similar urgent policy goals, and we can articulate them through our own strategies and policies at a local level, but we're broadly all trying to create the same thing, which is successful, economic and sustainable places in the context that I've already described.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Hilton. You are also a fellow at New University of Bristol's Digital Future Institute. Bristol is the leading smart city in the west of England region and received the highest score in the US Smart City Indexes in 2017. We would be grateful if you could explain what the project called Bristol is Open is and what its representative achievements are. Mr. Hilton?
Of course. So certainly Bristol is Open is a project that has attracted a great deal of attention around the world. I was involved in setting up Bristol is Open along with a good colleague of mine, Professor Dimitris Simonardou from the University of Bristol. We must remember that when we set up Bristol is Open 6 or 7 years ago now, so it's it's been around for quite a long time, and it's been through different phases during those 5 or 6 years. What we were trying to do was something very ambitious. We were trying to use an infrastructure within the city, which was a blend of fibre connectivity and wireless connectivity, which subsequently incorporated 5G connectivity. We were trying to use that infrastructure to bring big business to the city, but also to keep a focus on the benefits that that infrastructure could deliver to the city's communities and to small and start-up businesses within the city. And this was a very difficult challenge. We were trying to hold all of those different interests together in one project. The previous speaker talked about public-private partnerships. Perhaps we could add another P, which is people. So Bristol is Open was trying to create public-private people partnerships to look at how the smart city and the Internet of Things could deliver commercial value and commercial return on investment, but could also deliver social value within the city. I would say that the project was partly successful. There were some very good use cases that were trialled and tested. But perhaps the biggest success is that it's become part of how we now do business within the West of England. So we have a further industrial Internet of Things test bed being developed in South Gloucestershire, which is the area just to the north of the city. We have a logistics and 5G test bed being developed by a company called Zeta Networks with the National Composite Centre. And we've done some really interesting work with University of Bristol and Bath, the city near to Bristol, looking at augmented and virtual reality and how that can be used both to create new experiences for visitors, but also to help to keep the city safer for people when they do visit. So I think the success of Bristol is Open is that it's created a culture of experimentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton. The issue I'd like to hear from you concerns the direction of a smart city in Bristol and west of England. What direction do you think smart cities in Bristol and west of England should take? What do you...
It's a very...
Another one, please.
Sorry.
What would you like to do in the future, and what aspects Korea and other countries can refer to for the development of smart cities?
Yeah. I think it's a very good question. Thank you for asking it. I guess obviously we're in Korea and in Bristol and the west of England and the UK. And around the world, the pandemic has created many disruptions. It's also created many opportunities to think differently about how we live and work in the future. In the UK, many of us are now continuing to work at home or closer to home. We're having to adapt the way that we live. Everything from how we shop, to how we learn or teach people, to think about how we plan our journeys and our travel, to think about logistics, and importantly, to think about health and social care. I recognise that in Korea, there's a great deal of expertise in many of these areas. How to deliver health and social care in an era of COVID is an issue that's common across both Korea and the UK, and one that we need to think about how we collaborate on. I'm very interested in how we move from the smart city to the smart neighbourhood. How do we start to think about the very local opportunities that perhaps have been overlooked in the past when we've thought about smart cities? Often we think about the city centre, and we think about the city centre networks and the applications for people who are travelling around busy and congested city centres. I think in the future, we also need to think about livable neighbourhoods, and we need to think about how the smart city can become hyper-localised. How can it make a difference in very local communities? And I think that's an area from the time that I've spent in Korea where I think there's real opportunity for collaboration. How do we ensure inclusive, livable places that benefit from the innovation that Smart City can deliver?
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Hilton. Mr. Stephen Hilton have talked a variety of issues, including smart city project in Bristol and things for the development of smart cities, and in particular, the ways of means of cooperation between Korea and England, UK, amid the coronavirus pandemic, which is very interesting. Next, I would like to talk with Professor Young-gun Lee. Professor Young-gun Lee served as the commissioner of the Incheon Free Economic Zone from 2015 to 2017. Incheon Free Economic Zone has been developing the districts of Songdo, Cheongna, and Yeongjong, where Incheon International Airport is located, Yeongjong, and has carried out a representative smart city project that created something from nothing. This is different from the case of the city of Bristol and the smart city in the UK that was introduced earlier. First of all, I would like to ask you to introduce the features of the smart city of Incheon Free Economic Zone.
Yeah, thank you. Hello. Firstly, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this talk show as part of the third Smart City International Symposium hosted by Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport and the Incheon Metropolitan City and sponsored by the British Embassy. To start with, I would like to introduce you the IFED Smart City and its smart technology. IFED was designated 2 years after the opening of Incheon International Airport in 2003 in order to invite foreign capital, providing incentives for foreign companies such as tax exemption benefit and the land supply at construction cost. IFED is a core region that can reach 156 cities around the world with over 1 million people within 3 hours flight, and is located just 1 hour drive to the capital Seoul, proving to be highly accessible. IFED consists of 3 spaciously separated districts, Songdo, Yeongjong, and Cheongna, with 1 single operation center. Here you can see the changes occurred in the 3 districts throughout the years. The IFED Smart City Operation Center is located in Songdo, which was built on reclaimed land and transformed into an international city. Project of development and implementation are still in progress and are expected to be completed by 2030. Its growth in figures shows us a 17-year miracle. IFED was built on the sea out of nothing. It has now 3,040 corporations, 15 international organizations, reaching a total investment of foreign capital of $12.8 billion. IFED has a geographical advantage of being just a 30 minutes ride from Incheon International Airport, which won the Airport Service Quality Award for 12 consecutive years from ACI, able to reach about 100 million passengers when its first phase is completed in 2024. It also has the Incheon New Port and the new international passenger terminal located in Songdo International City, handling 1.7 billion TEU last year. IFED is connected to the capital Seoul and other major cities in Korea through expressways and the central and the local railroad, demonstrating the emphasis placed in its connection and accessibility. According to urban planning expert, the shape and the fate have always been defined by transportation. Despite the COVID pandemic, this still means air travel. Therefore, future cities should be designed as aerotropolis equipped with smart technology, easily accessible to hub airport like Incheon International Airport. IFAD provides perfect infrastructure and a highly qualified workforce with the best settlement area for foreigners. Songdo features global education with campuses for renowned national and international universities and the bio industry with the company such as Samsung Bio and Celltrion. Yeongjo International City with the Incheon International Airport focuses in logistics, tourism, and leisure, whereas Cheongna, which is the closest to the capital Seoul, is a financial and R&D center. Many influential media outlets from across the globe have seen its potential for growth and competitiveness. However, the rapid growth of IFAD results in a need for a more convenient and efficient urban management. With this in mind, IFAD planned to provide smart ICT services for the city. IFAD Smart City's vision is to be a global leading smart city. It means that we can offer smart city services to anyone, anywhere, at any time. IFAD Smart City is one of the safest cities in the world with its 24-hour city control system. It tries to improve the life quality of citizens based on the provision of convenient and efficient city services and the continuous creation of new services through a public and private profit-sharing model. IFAD Smart City's strategy is to create an integrated and sustainable city. The IFAD Smart City Operations Center integrates multiple districts to enable efficient management and cost saving. With sustainability in mind, IFAD was designed as a smart city powered by the best IT infrastructure and systems from the strategic planning stage. Under the strategy of one space, one system, and one service, IFAD is serving an icon of smart city in Korea and becoming a global smart city reference. One space, placing one operation center in Songdo, covering 3 separated areas. One system, the virtualized cloud system of the IFAD Cloud Data Center, enabling a better use of infrastructure resources. One service, making citizens' services equally available in the 3 areas of IFAD with its unique integrated platform. Its development plan can be divided into plan, design, action. The Smart City Strategy Planning started in 2005, followed by the Smart City Center and Service Planning in 2007. The plan and the design stages took about 10 years, but the implementation of the Smart City Integrated Operation System took only 3 years. The IFAD project can be divided into 3 phases. The telecommunication infrastructure was built in the first phase, followed by the integration of the 3 districts into one in the second phase. The third phase consists of the development, upgrade, and operation of the project, as well as the preparation to enter the overseas market. IFAD enhances its brand value by enabling citizens to enjoy a safe and convenient life with smart services created based on its public infrastructure. The smart city services in the private sector, such as education, healthcare, and smart homes, are delivered directly to citizens, resulting in an improvement of life quality. The most representative service of IFAD Smart City in the public sector is the smart transport service. This service provided in bus stop enables citizens to access information related to buses, subway connections, and official use from the local government. Each bus stop is also equipped with the emergency bell that allows citizens to ask for help. For the safety of its citizens, IFAD Smart City has built the integrated CCTV control service. When an incident or accident occurs, the surrounding CCTVs can be automatically monitored, enabling the IFED Integrated Operation Center to respond immediately to any problem encountered. IFED has played a leading role in smart cities with differentiated services and unique characteristics. It is only a local government with its own smart city platform solution, the first and largest cloud data center among local government, enabling central management and efficient response to various events. The only local government that established a smart city specialist providing smart city consulting services nationally and internationally, and finally one of the first projects aiming at fusing public resources and private capacities by becoming an open, innovative startup hub in the country. IFED is the only local government with a smart city platform solution, able to collect, process, and manage city data effectively and promptly to provide smart services with IoT, AI, and big data technologies. The IFED Smart City Cloud Data Center is recognized as the first public cloud data center among local government in Korea. It enables the effective use of IT based on its step-by-step smart city project approach. Another aspect that makes IFED Smart City unique is the establishment of Incheon Smart City Corporation, a smart city specialist company operating the entire life cycle of the IFED Smart City project. This enhances effectiveness and ensures sustainability and expertise. It is a leading government entity providing smart city consulting services based on the know-how and the experience acquired throughout its project implementation. Now, with the Smart City Sustainable Program, IFED Smart City aims at revitalizing the local economy and creating job opportunities by supporting innovative startups with the provision of processed public data to create new services. It is expected to foster innovative companies that can improve competitiveness globally with the provision of optimal support environment to identify new businesses and service areas. It is also expected to enhance social cohesion with the participation of various stakeholders representing different sectors in the society, resulting in a better life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Young-Gun Lee, for your kind and very detailed, not to mention exhaustive, explanation on smart cities developed by the Incheon Free Economic Zone Authority. The place where we are is located in the center of Songdo, the smart city, developed and still developed by the Incheon Free Economic Zone Authority. What a beautiful place, beautiful sky we have, and beautiful sea, beautiful land, and beautiful landscape, high-rise buildings, and etc., etc. And I'd like to share my experience in Songdo with the participants from the UK. I don't know if Mr. Hilton has been in Songdo, visited Songdo in the past.
Unfortunately, I haven't visited Songdo. I was in Gwangju last year, but we didn't have the opportunity to visit Songdo, but I have read about it.
Okay, in that case, we have to invite you to visit Songdo someday in the future after the coronavirus pandemic outbreak. And okay, now my principal role is to moderate the discussion. But I'd like to allow myself to make some comments for completing the discussion. I want to talk about the Smart City Convergence Alliance and the national pilot project in Busan and Sejong. Smart City Alliance is a non-statutory group launched for the promotion of smart city by establishing a support system and to become the role of winner in Korea. Nearly 500 private companies and some public institutes are participating as members. Members' business area is enveloping a diversity of industries, including platform business, device and sensor provider, network service, consulting, system integration, mobility, energy, environment, building, healthcare, security, education, governance, urban and real estate development, construction, etc., etc. The Alliance's activity has 4 directions. Technical cooperation among members, development of a business model, and improvement of related regulations, international cooperation. Through the technical cooperation, members develop and build business models. The related laws and regulations are important for promoting businesses, for the reason of which the Alliance provides consulting to the government, thereby improve the regulations. These activities finally aim at promoting step-by-step strategic cooperation through private and public partnership in the dissemination and the expansion of smart city, both domestically and internationally. Now, National Pilot Project. It has been initiated by Korean government for the purpose of testing and realizing 4th industrial revolution technologies, establishing an innovative ecosystem, and proposing a leading smart city model of future. 2 sites were selected in Busan Eco-Delta City and Sejong City. The project in the Busan Eco-Delta City has been implemented in an area of 2.2 square kilometers, planning to accommodate 8,500 population. While in Sejong project implemented in 2.7 square kilometers with 22,500 planned populations. The business entity is a special purpose company established based on public-private partnership. In case of Sejong project, the consortium led by LG CNS, LG is very big enterprise in Korea. LG CNS consortium has been selected as the preferred bidder last week, and the selection of the Busan Eco-Delta project bidder will be done next month. $3.7 billion will be invested in the Sejong project, specializing a number of fields including healthcare, education, energy, environment, culture, retail, job creation, and mobility in particular. The Busan Eco-Delta project will be focusing on water management, environment, energy, healthcare, sport, etc., using technologies such as AI, robot to the fullest extent. As you may guess, those pilot projects, as incorporating 4th industrial revolution related technologies and realizing a diversity of relevant solutions and services in a comprehensive way, have the characteristics of a huge experimental city. Those cities, I'm sure, will serve as a substantial reference for the expansion of a smart city domestically and internationally by proposing appropriate solutions and services for solving problems cities are facing. Now, I would like to add some more comments on it's not a comment. It's a comment. I would like to raise a controversial issue or argument concerning the smart city. First of all, let me try to define the smart city. For me, the smart city is an innovative networking type of city, utilizing ICT and other applicable technologies as a means to create solutions for urban problems and enhance efficiency of city management, thereby to improve quality of life. Obviously, it is more than an integration of ICT and other technologies. Rather, it is a complicated ecosystem made up of physical urban spaces, urban infrastructure based on ICT and other technologies, and people. Not only citizens, but also diverse players and groups. Given that it is approached as a single system as a whole, in other words, we need to approach it from a holistic perspective. Some issues should be taken into consideration in this holistic approach. The issue of decision-making method, bottom-up or top-down, mentioned before by Dr. Kapsung Kim, the balance of physical space and digital space, which is not less important, and the public perception of technological innovation. First of all, decision-making issue. A top-down approach can be more efficient and effective, especially in case of greenfield project focusing on urban management. But it is not in case of brownfield project or urban regeneration project. In the past, Korean government had led and implemented an important number of ubiquitous city, which is former version of smart city. My question is why many pilot projects in terms of ubiquitous cities did not lead to practical policies or business, but after a while. The reason is diverse, such as rash decision by government, no consideration of views and ideas from people, local business, etc. For summing up, top-down decision making. The core of smart city is people. In a smart city, people should be smart. Citizens, civil organizations, authorities, business should participate in the decision-making procedure in each stage of it, identifying problems, choosing solutions and services, choosing technologies, making action plan, making partnerships with the private sector, allocating necessary budget, executing project, evaluating outcomes. As such, smart city will be realized in a smart and effective way. Second is public perception of technological innovation. Technology innovation have positive and negative effects, and also cause social acceptance, partnership problems such as resistance from existing business. The negative effects of technology lead to the control by technology. And the positive effects to active acceptance. Confrontation on social and moral issues brought by technology expand trust on technology through citizens' participation and communications. But overall check is needed on technological innovation and relevant social and economic ecosystem. And third issue, not less important than the previous issues, balance between physical space and digital space. I think Dr. Kapsung Kim and Dr. Young Lee agree with me. Smart city cannot be defined only as digital space where ICT and other technologies are taking place, including physical urban space. I mean, physical space is an active recipient to hold a digital space. Furthermore, city infrastructure, city space structure, and buildings are interconnected and closely correlated. Interconnection between physical space and digital space can maximize objectives of smart city. For example, smart energy is not possible only through AMI, BAMs, smart grid, digital energy market, etc. Sustainable smart energy needs to precede on consideration of buildings and city areas before the whole process of energy value chain is incorporated. Other issues like monopolizing power of platform business, untaxed lifestyle caused by infectious disease, COVID-19 in case, which has a substantial and promotive impact on smart city expansion should be considered on the same level of importance, but I reserve it for next opportunity. And okay, I was more or less long. Now this is the question and answer session. So far, the audience, you've watched the presentation of each participant. As many people are being connected to listen to this talk concert, they might have a lot of questions to ask. I would like to invite 3 experts to answer the questions received through the website following the order of the talk. And first question is going to Professor Kim Gap-song on how to manage systematically data, which would be huge and diverse in smart city.
Yeah, most people said in the smart city, the most important one is the key important element is data. I'm an analyst. From my view, if there is no data, I'm very happy because I can make the data with my own. But there are many data and big data collected in sensors and CCTVs and all things together. So I think that for the data, we should think 2 ways. One is there are plenty of data, and the usage of the data is owned by the specialist, scientist, and the social economist. Every specialist wants data to analyze for the study the pattern of the life and transportation pattern or some shopping pattern, something like that. Also, some company want to use data for marketing purpose and other purpose. So, in that sense, we don't need to collect the data in public. We just suggest where and acknowledge where the data is. That's the main point. So data center, we don't want to establish big data center. It should be virtual one. And we're making integrated platform and plenty of the data in the worldwide. So we can use that one. So openness of the data is more important than collecting. Okay, so maybe in the public, in the Korean government and Incheon municipality want to open the data, but in some way, if we want very detailed data, we cannot provide that kind of things in the study. So that's one. And the other one, another part is there are some objective to resolve the urban problems like the transportation or the air pollution, something like that. There should be the special issues. And then maybe we need some data set. Then we can collect that one periodically and manipulate that data in somehow. So we should approach 2 different ways.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gap-song Kim. There is a question I'm watching in the monitor. A question from Ms. Julie Snell. Please introduce some inspiring smart city examples in South Korea. This question is going to again.
I think Dr. Lee, because I think the number 1 smart city in the world is Songdo. So if you visit Songdo, you can have lots of experience in Songdo life with the very high technology. And also nowadays we prepare some new towns and with this smart city concept. So and also the Seoul is very expert in smart city. Mass transportation system is very popular. So if we use only one car for the many different modes can use, and transport is very easily, and then that's the worldwide popular systems, I think.
Okay. Second question is concerning to know what is the difference in approach of smart cities between Korea and UK. I think this question should be answered by Mr. Hilton. Could you try to answer?
Well, I can give a view based on the experience that I have from visiting Korea, but I wouldn't pretend to be an expert on Korea's approach to smart cities, although the presentations I've heard this morning have been very helpful. I think perhaps in the UK and in Bristol and the west of England, when we talk about a smart city, we often move away from the idea of purely being focused on efficiency. Whilst efficiency is very important, and governments and local authorities need to save money and to deliver services efficiently. So it's an important agenda. We often talk about smart cities as being a way to bring together different perspectives and different experiences in order to create the opportunity for new ideas to emerge. So there's a strong focus around Bristol and the west of England in bringing together the creative sector. We have a strong group of companies working on media and animation and user interface and experience. And if we apply those areas of expertise to our work around smart cities, then we get some genuinely different ideas emerging about how the smart city can connect with people and communities. I don't really like this top-down, bottom-up distinction, because I think both are important, and I think both come together in this idea of the ecosystem. And in Bristol, if you came to a smart city event in Bristol, you'd be as likely to meet an artist as you would to meet a technologist. And the interesting thing is the conversation and the ideas that result from that collision between people from different backgrounds and perspectives. I'm hugely impressed with a lot of the work I've seen from Korea around smart cities. The work you've described around data, around transport, around mobility, around the future of flight, all of these things are really significant and equally as relevant to the UK. I wonder in Korea if there is the same level of involvement from the arts and cultural sector as perhaps there is in the UK, and that might be an interesting difference that we could explore at some point in the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stephen Hilton. And we have enough time, only 5 minutes, 4 seconds.
And in my opinion, I can answer the second question. The
Okay,
UK,
the first question, yeah.
It is based on the citizens and bottom-up type. But in Korea, government led the all policies, and the private companies just look only the public government spend money, investment. So it's just different. And R&D and all kind of studies, research is based on the private companies and the universities in the UK, but in Korea, the government have the money and they allocate the investment into the private company.
So I'd like to add that
approach
there
is different.
Also living lab or police lab type smart city projects, which is ongoing in Siung or Daegu, etc. Okay. We have more time now. Surprise. And there is a question concerning the direction of Korean smart city. The question is as follows. Don't you think if it's necessary to establish a direction for Korean smart city by putting a modifier? Sustainable smart city or resilient smart city, etc., etc. If so, what kind of modifier you think? That question is coming to me, so I try to answer. I do not want to define Korean smart city with technical terms relating functions or suggesting a possibility, but rather in a philosophical or ethical way, placing people in the core. What I'm thinking is interdependent or empathetic smart city. As everyone is well aware, the society in Northeast Asian countries. Korea in particular is strongly oriented, relation oriented. In this type of society, others are not objectified, but basically considered being already engaged in terms of a relation. In case of objectifying others, I, as a thinking subject, consider them as objectified beings who have no relation with me, classify them with the nature or essence for or categorizing. This is to control others, not to mention dominate in the end. Cities are huge. It is impossible to know and engage each other as if we used to do in small villages of past. In modern cities, people hiding behind the anonymity tries to control others and gratifies desires and selfishness in the name of freedom and right. This is becoming more obvious and serious with the pandemic situation caused by COVID-19. In this context, smart city is of utmost importance. Smart city should be able to enhance citizens' connectivity, which has been impossible in the modernity with huge scale of cities and zoning system leading to separation. But the connectivity only is not enough. On the basis of owner spirit, we do promote relations with others, not in the way of power conflict, but of interdependence. Smart city will be able to continue to making people recognize being engaged in interdependent relations. When citizens think that they are engaged interdependently, they become empathetic, establish common goals of civic nature, and act accordingly. This is not collectivism or groupism, which means I'm identified with a group which I belong to. Pandemic situation imposed by COVID-19 will not be overcome by the untapped nature of smart city only, but by forming interdependent and empathetic relations. The response case of Korea to the COVID-19 would be an important reference for interdependent and empathetic smart city. I don't know if the participants you like this answer. This is more or less academic and philosophical. Okay, first question. What is the comprehensive and scientific approach for smart cities?
There are many, I think, but the particular one is living lab type. So in the community, there are many people has interest in different things. So if we can identify what kind of problems in their community or the city is the living lab, living laboratory. So mostly popular cities, Amsterdam, I think, and UK, and Bristol, and London, and other cities too. They sit together and they talk about their problems in the community first, and then they can invite some specialists if they have find some problems, so they can have some help, get some help from the business firms or technicians and specialists in universities. That's the one wise kind of the method, I think.
Thank you, Dr. Kapsan Kim. Final question. I see how smart cities can respond to COVID-19 pandemic situation better than normal cities. I'd like to take an example of the COVID-19 contact tracing system, which has been developed based on a smart city data platform in March in Korea, which has been used and which is being used even now by the Korea CDC, Center for Disease Control. And last year, at the end of last year, the Smart City R&D project team, they developed the protocol of smart city data platform. And then we are January, February on the point to apply in the test bed that platform. But coronavirus took place. And in March, at the beginning of March, the patients of coronavirus 19 in Daegu area has been increasing dramatically. And Daegu is also the test bed city of smart city R&D project. And the researchers and the government, Ministry of Land, Transport and Infrastructure and everyone gathered and they made a brainstorming how to tackle the coronavirus pandemic in terms of as the Ministry of Land, Transport, Infrastructure, and the related researchers. Okay, we can develop on the basis of database of contact tracing system. Everyone is well aware contact tracing system in Korea, which is very efficient, very agile, and which has been used largely and that's an example that I can give you. Do you have any further
And nowadays
comments?
we can go to school or workplace. So maybe the home should be more a smart place to work and be educated and other all activities. So home is very important, and the small village is very important than the people, I think. So the urban spatial structure could be different from the normal one in pandemic system. And so I think we should change all kind of the urban structure and the housing and the workplaces and other all things. So now we should think again our city systems.
Thank you, Dr. Kapsung-Kim. I have to stop here the question and answer session because of the time constraint. And how was the talk concert today? Could you please tell us your impressions after the talk concert? I would like to ask Mr. Stephen Hilton, who inevitably attends online due to the corona, to speak first. Please, Mr. Hilton.
Thank you. I found it a very interesting and informative discussion, and there are many things that have been talked about that I think are equally as relevant to Korea as they are to the UK and to the rest of the world. I particularly liked your own observation around empathic smart cities. I think if nothing else, the coronavirus has opened up an opportunity for us to be far more caring about others within our cities and our communities, and thinking about how the smart city can help to build new connections between the generations and between different people within and between cities is really a very strong opportunity. So thank you for that observation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hilton, and thank you. My personal thank you for your appreciation on my explanation on smart city in Korea. And next, Professor Kim. Please.
Yes, this is very strange to have no audience and only the speakers and discussants only. So maybe in the future we should use these webinar systems. So maybe there are some merits of this one. Maybe we can reduce the expenditure and the time, right? So we don't need to go to the Bristol with the 2 days or 3 days long. So I think more opportunity to communicate each other, I think so. But still, it's very sorry not communicate each other with the audiences here.
Thank you, Dr. Kapsung-Kim, and then Professor Young-Gun Lee.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, iPhone was designed and constructed, led by public sector at the beginning stage, but would be developed, led by public and private sector, and would make great contribution to revitalizing the local economy and creating jobs through the startup park project now on the way. I hope that today's talk show generates new opportunities to promote the relationship between England, especially Bristol City, and the Korean government and the Incheon metropolitan city. And I also would like to thank members of staff working behind the scene from KAYA, the IFED, and the Incheon Smart City Corporation for their support during the preparation process of this symposium. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Young-Gun Lee. Okay. And now I would like to end today's talk concert. Thank you for being with us today. One more thing. The organizer, they asked me to make a briefing for tomorrow's program. Tomorrow, this event is scheduled to start at 3 p.m. Korean time and 7 a.m. UK time. The event will be presented and discussed by session on 4 different topics. In the face of the coronavirus situation, new concepts of digital economy such as AI and non-face-to-face are gaining popularity. The 4 different topics discussed in each session are first, post-corona sessions to share experiences and knowledge between the 2 countries. Second, a digital healthcare session to listen to growing demand for new types of medical services such as telemedicine, digital healthcare in a coronavirus pandemic situation. Third, a smart city data session to discuss data, which is a key element for efficient city operations, such as a smart city data hub and data marketplace. And fourth, the last, a smart mobility session to share projects and technologies related to various forms of mobility, such as autonomous vehicles and drones. Each session will be conducted in real time through the YouTube channel. We look forward to your participation, active participation. We'll wrap up with a huge thanks to the British and Korean participants who joined us in a real time from the opening ceremony to the talk concert today. Thank you. That's the end.
Thank you.